Hi, this is Mark Meckler, Professor Meckler, and I am going to make pastrami. I'm going to try and record as much of it as I can. I'll put it together. I've never made this before. I've cured meats before. I make my own bacon and tocino and other kinds of stuff like that, but I've never made actually, I've never made, I guess I've made corned beef because I've corned beef before. I've brined beef before, but I never really made taken a brisket and made corned beef and then turned the corned beef into pastrami. Haven't done this before. I'm following the recipe that I found here on this website called Amazing Ribs. I'm just finishing reading this, and I found it on Amazing Ribs, and it says this is a good recipe, and the fellow who wrote this, I don't, there's the name, says that did a lot of research and went to Katz's lots of times, asked gazillion questions and so forth. So we'll see how it comes out. I think I'd like mine to come out actually better than this. I want to be able to shave it really fine without it completely falling apart. I want to have it nice and warm on a piece of bread, like some rye bread, and bite into it and feel like the meat doesn't come flying off with your teeth, that you can bite through it, and that there's lots of flavor. I like it when it's smoky. I like it a little bit salty, but anyway, we're going to have to give it a shot. Oh, I wasn't recording. So what I have here is I have a brisket, a big whole one, which weighs almost 13 pounds. And I've got curing spices, and there's pepper and bay leaves and coriander seeds and dill and mustard seeds and so forth, some anise and cloves and so forth, curing stuff, black peppers, and I used a pound of salt, 1 pound of salt, and prog powder. I had to calculate how much prog powder to put in. I used my scale to weigh stuff to get the right amounts, and so here's what I did. If that weighs, I need to have I need to know by weight how much salt and pink salt to put in the whole mixture, because I'm going to wet brine, so it reaches equilibrium at the right amount of salt. So and then I'll cure it. So if that's about 13 pounds, and then I put this into here in the plastic bag, covered it with water, and guess what? It took this much water. That's why I have that now. Covered it with water, and then I took the bag out. I poured the water back into a container, and I weighed that much water, the water that it's all going to be. So altogether, the water ended up weighing 5 pounds, and the brisket weighs 13 pounds. So I have a total weight of water plus brisket of 18 pounds. So I had to figure from that how much salt and pig salt to use. So we have the simple calculation. If it's 18 pounds and I could cure it at a 10% solution of salt. That would be 1.8 pounds of salt. But in a corned beef, that's very salty. But in a corned beef, a lot of times you boil it later and then the salt comes out. But I'm going to steam this and then turn it into pastrami. So I don't want it to be 10% salt, and then because then I have to soak it and get the salt out. So I'm going to steam it to cook it. And anyway, I could even smoke it to cook it, but I don't want it to be too salty. So I'm going to go with a 5% solution. So 5% of 18 pounds, 10% is 1.8 pounds. Half of that, 5%, is about 0.9 pounds of salt. Okay, about 0.9 pounds of salt, and I have a little over 18 pounds, so I went with 1 pound of salt, a little more than a 5% solution of salt. And then in terms of pink salt, it's for wet brining, it's about 3 grams, 2.5 to 3 grams of pink salt per kilo. And I can convert it to kilos, which I did, but just to do the quick one, a kilo is about 5 pounds. So that's 3 times 3 teaspoons, which is about 3 times 3 grams, which is about 9 grams, which would be for a 15 pounder. Then I got about another half, which is another 1.5 grams of pink salt. So 9. So you're thinking about 10.5 grams of pink salt. And that's what I did. Actually, I only used 10 grams of pink salt. I weighed it in my trusty dusty digital weigher, and then I mixed it all together here. So I have my salt, my pink salt in there, in my water. That's nice clean water, and I'm stirring it to dissolve the salt. Then I'm going to pour this in here. And my cure and stuff. And I'm not going to use sugar. I have to pour it back and forth a few times to get the salt out. But I'm not going to use a lot of sugar in this. I'm just going to, because sugar and meat sometimes comes out, you get a weird flavor what do they call it? Lactic acid or something grows or something. So no sugar. Okay, so I did have to make one adjustment. Let me point that out real quick. So let's see, can I turn this thing around? Don't know how. Okay, so if you can see here, I got about a pound, 1 pound, just over a pound of trim from when I took apart. When I took this apart, the brisket, I saw some fat in there. I wanted to trim out because I wanted to separate the pieces, the point from the flat. And when I did that, I trimmed off some of the fat in the middle. I got a pound, just over a pound of trimmings. So what am I going to do? Because my brine is adjusted. So that means I'm going to have to add 1 pound of water, which is pretty easy. I'll measure water and I'll add it back so I have the right weight. Okay, so that's what I'm going to go do. And that'll fit just over the top. That'll be just about perfect. All right, now that says 1.8 pounds, and that's too much, but that's 0.3 pounds is the pitcher. So I have to get that to 1.5 so that, to 1.3 so that it's 1 pound of water. So, or it could be over, but I just don't want it to be under. I don't want too much mixing it, so what I'm gonna do, let's see, pour a little water out. Let's see what we got. Ooh, 1.5. That'll give me 1.2 pounds of water. That's safe. I'll do that. There we go. And then I'll put a little dish on top or something with water in it to brine it or something to hold that down. But it is pretty good. So I've got the right amount in there. And I'll put something on top to weigh it down and keep it under the water. There we go. I think about 5 days ought to do it. All right, taste test. We'll see if this is too salty. Good. Still too salty. Ooh, another 30 minutes. So that'll be an hour of freshening. Tastes pretty good though. Let me cook this in there. Get some of the salt out. I'm not going to waste it. Okay, so these are cured. If they're very salty, even though I only used a little over 5% salt, it's still too salty. I cut off a little piece, tasted it, cooked it in the pan, tasted it, it's way too salty. So, before I smoke these for pastrami, they need to be freshened, and that means soaked in water so the salt comes out. Alright? And so I'm putting it in an old refrigerator drawer that's sanitized, and they're just going to have the water on through to my hose, which I use for drinking water for the kids. Anyway, this is going to fill up with water, and then it'll spill out the top, and you keep the water kind of flowing over. So fresh water flows over. You don't want just like sitting water. You just want flowing water, and then I'll taste it. It'll be after half an hour, after an hour. Same thing I do with lox when I freshen it. You don't want to go too far because then it can get pretty soggy. And I don't want it to get soggy. I know that's especially true for fish. But probably the same thing with corned beef. So, alright, so it's in the water, and you can see it's leaking out that little hole there. And that's good. So we just have the water dripping out, and we'll turn the water down. So we just slowly have some fresh water changing, and I'll taste it, let's say, in about a half an hour. Alright, I'm going to make a spice rub. It's mostly coriander and black pepper. You want whole stuff and you want ground. So some of it I'm going to grind, some of it I'm going to leave whole. I'm going to use onion seeds, onion powder. I have some onion powder. I'm going to use garlic and garlic powder. I'm going to put a little nutmeg on it usually, and then of course there's mustard seeds and I'll grind it. So I've got my handy dandy grinder right here, and that's going to mix together. I might put a little ancho powder in there just for the color. A couple ancho seeds and then grind them up. And that's it. And I'll take a picture when I'm done grinding. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, let's see. Oh, if you could smell this, it smells really good. There we go. Pretty much ground up stuff. There's the ground up version. There's the whole stuff. So whole mustard seeds, coriander, black pepper, ground up mustard seeds, black pepper, coriander, and a couple of cloves, and onion seeds, and garlic powder. And that's what I got in there. I didn't add any ancho stuff. I'm going to add it just for color, because a lot of recipes say paprika, which is also for the color. So I'll take a picture after I find the ancho. Got to dig for it somewhere. I have some. All right, I ground that stuff up pretty good. One more. All right, let's see what I got. It smells so good. All right, so that's what I got. All right, ground. There's the ground and there's the hole. And I'm gonna rub this all over the corned beef. I'll be back. All right, I damped my hands and then I pressed this in all over the place. So I got my rub all over my briskets. And see, these are ready to be, now they're gonna sit. This is gonna be 2 days. I'm gonna let it sit in the fridge for 2 days with this rub on it. Oh, I forgot to say that, of course I used some dark brown sugar in the mix, so I took all that stuff and then I threw a few tablespoons, about 3 tablespoons of, about a quarter of it, dark brown sugar. And there we go. So now 3 days, I'm gonna stick them in a plastic bag and throw them in the fridge. And then that'll really adhere to it and soak in, the flavors will sink in. And then I'll smoke it at 205 degrees. I mean, until it gets to 205 degrees internally, nice and slow. Video. All right, this has been in here for now 2 days. That looks pretty good. Oh my God, it smells good. Okay, so this has been in here for 2 days. And it's gonna nice and cold when it gets out of here. Ooh, that's heavy. 12 pounds of brisket. Well, minus the pound of fat. 11 pounds of brisket. Bring this out here. And there we go. That looks pretty good stuff. All right, it's chilly out. Perfect for smoking, I guess. So I'm going to smoke this. I'm going to use, over on the side here, that stuff is all plum. So I'm going to use the plum wood. Cedars over there. I'm going to use plum. I also have hickory. I think I'll use the plum wood. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference with all these spices. But I'm going to smoke it. I'm going to do it in here. I could also put chips in this little thing. This is a pretty good, but this is good for cold smoking. You just need a thin stream of smoke. So anyway, I'm going to smoke it. And I'm going to see if I can smoke it all the way to like 210 degrees past the stall. And all the way through and get it smoked instead of steaming it at all. We'll see. If I can't, then I'll steam it. Off, only the back on, and I'll adjust that until I get the heat in there around. I'll start really low so I don't close up the outside, and then I'll get the heat up to about 200, maybe 200, 220, and I'll smoke it the whole way. Oh, that's my sharpening stone. I thought to make a point, somewhat important, about this model of these Weber Genesises. The reason I like the slightly older model of these grills. Okay, this is the big one. This is the Genesis Gold, and it's got the nice stainless steel cabinet, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is, in these older ones, you see the orientation of the pipes. It's like they go long ways. They go across the grill, back, middle, and front, rather than section. So I can have a back burner, literally put the back burner on, and that just goes across the back, and I can leave my food up front, and that allows the heat to be indirect. I could have just a little bit of heat in the back and move my food up front. The other thing that's really good for having just a back burner or a front or front and back and leaving the middle off is when you're using these. So you put a rotisserie on, one of these rotisserie things, and it's on your rotisserie. Well, there's a little grilly thing, and it hooks on this side. That way you don't have any heat directly right underneath to flare up. You have the back, and it could just go around and around, and only the back burner's on, or you could do back and front on low, and you can really adjust the temperature well. But I like it a lot better where the rods, or whatever they are, go crossways, so I could have the whole back on and nothing. All right, 2 hours in, we're still at pretty high. A little smoke, still smoking. All right, let's just keep leaving it. The other grill, well, I think the other grill, we're not going to use it. Delicious. And we've got a potato.
Would you like to eat something, honey?
What, sweetie?
Would you like to eat something?
No, thanks. So excited about our brisket. It'll be pastrami soon. Another 6 hours. Guess what that is? Guess what that is? Beep, beep, beep. Let's see, we're at about, I think I'm smoking it at 240 degrees. I just turned it up a little. It's inside. Meat's at 119. I'm going to take it out at 205. That should be about hours and hours, actually. It's the pastrami. It's the pastrami. Ooh. Look at that. It's going to be good. I hope. I'm using the plum with some hickory. Plum and hickory stuff. This stuff. Well, I'll let you guys taste it when it's ready. Bye. Alright, so I've got the thermometer programmed. It's 114 now. I got it set for 205. So it'll let me know when it's at 205 degrees. Got my little remote unit here. And obviously the other one's out there by the grill. It's smoking away. And I won't have to go out there and check it out for a while. And we're already 2 hours in, and we're only up to, what are we at, 114? It's cold out. But I got the grill and smoker, I'm smoking it only at 200 something degrees. So for the internal temperature to get up there, it's going to take a long time. Be nice and smoky. What do we got? Well, you can't even see it. It's nighttime. We were almost there. Almost there. We did this all day. Okay, it's 8:09. We're at 192 degrees and we're getting close. We got 13 degrees to go. I could take it at 204, 12 degrees. I go 14 more. But anyway, we're getting close. All right, so I put all that together. I took a lot of photos and stuff like that of trying to make pastrami. It's the first time I ever tried to make it. I used, if you on the screen here, this is where I started. I used this pastrami recipe where it says, I think it's at the website says at Amazing Ribs. I just found it on the internet, and I read this, and it said close to Katz's. It does look kind of like this, although I cooked mine. It's more tender than this, and I followed the recipe pretty much. I used, the herb mixtures and so forth. I put some clove in that they didn't have, but I did this. So I started by making corned beef. I had to follow a different recipe, so I started from scratch, and I corned the beef, as you can see in the video, and so forth. What I would do next time is right here where it says desalinate or freshen. I need to freshen it a little bit longer so it's not quite as salty. Although, what I found out in the end, after I took it off the smoker, and I cooked it up to 205 degrees, which is a lot, but I wanted it to be really tender. Anyway, what I found out was that once I shaved it in order to heat it up. You can either steam it or drop it in some hot water. It's hard to get steam around, but I bet at Katz's they just drop it in hot water for a second. So anyway, I shaved some off of there, and then I dropped it in a pan of hot water, and I only dropped it in there for 15 or 20 seconds just to, warm it like you're reheating cooked pasta. And I took it out, shook it dry, and put it on the bread, and lo and behold, the excess salt that was in there came out. So brining it at about 5% is a little salty, and that means that if you're going, and I freshened it for a while, but I guess not long enough. Meat takes a long time to freshen. It's not the same time as freshening cured salmon. And so next time, I think I'll freshen it more and get the salt down maybe to like close to 3%, so that when you drop it in the water, you're getting it down to like 2.5%, which is nice to eat. And but anyway, it's delicious. It came out amazing. The flavor is fantastic, and it's like butter. The other thing that you can do is, the longer and longer you smoke it, the more volume you lose out of this. It's drying and drying and drying. So I don't think I need to smoke it the whole way. I mean, I had an amazing bark on there, and you saw how dark it was, and it's a bright red in the middle. It's fantastic. I think I'll probably smoke it next time up to around just past where the stall is, like get it through the 150 stage. Once it starts getting 160, 165, I think I'll probably take it off the smoker there and finish it by steaming it. And I think a lot of recipes say to do that. Even this recipe said, go ahead and steam it. Cook it a certain amount, steam it, said cook, and until it reaches the stall at 150. You can wrap it in foil, refrigerate, or you can proceed to the steaming step. And it softens. You can skip the steaming and smoke it up to 203 and have a nice firm bark, but it won't be quite as tender. It's very tender. But either way, so I think next time I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to do it with cooking it maybe up to like 160. That's where I saw it on the smoker, where it looked great, but it really started shrinking after 160, 165. The moisture started going out. It's very rich, and there's fat in there, so it's not dry. It just, I think I'll try it the other way. Anyway, that's all, and that was really fun. And that was my first time, and it's delicious. It is awesome. And even the salty version of it, saltier piece. I've been slicing it, eating it on like a bagel with cream cheese instead of salmon because it's salty. It's kind of like bacon. It's so good. Well, you saw the slice. You saw the picture of it sliced, so it does look almost like bacon. Uh, Thanks for watching.